Yo, I thought I would tell my deconversion story because I'm very tired and doing this will keep me awake and I don't really have anything else to do. And this is the only subject that I could think about. Um, so, when I was little, um, well, I guess I should start at the beginning. When I was 3, um, my parents divorced, and due to a bunch of bullshit, my father got custody. My mother is not a religious person. My father used to go to church every Sunday and used to claim to be a Christian. I think he still does, but he he's just kind of out there with that shit. Um, but anyway, so my father would take my sister and I to church every Sunday, and I don't remember the first church that we went to, but I remember after he met my stepmother, well, my first stepmother, because I had a couple, um, we started going to Lakewood Church before it moved from Lakewood to Houston. Um, so it was a bit of a drive. Um, so I could just tell every time, even if he had slept in, um, and we didn't go to church, if he would make us watch it on TV, I could still tell, even over the television, that he is one of those people that is selling a product he does not believe in. I, if I'm correct in my uh, recalling the definition of this word, I believe that is called a zealot. Um, I could be wrong, but he seems like one of those people that is trying to sell people cars that run on gasoline when he knows perfectly well that the battery technology has existed for decades that allows cars to run without fossil fuels over 100 miles an hour and over 2,000 miles per charge. So, yeah, I could just tell he was not uh, he that's basically his job, and he likes the celebrity status, I guess. Um, I could be wrong about the latter part, but I can just tell he doesn't believe the shit that he preaches. Um, and the people there just seemed so fucking fake. You know those people that when you go to church, this was a majority, like overwhelming majority of the people um, that surrounded us every day. I mean, every Sunday at Lakewood. Um, there were those people that either they didn't believe it, but for some reason they were there, and they were happy to be there. They were really enthusiastic about it, or they believed the shit that he was preaching, but they were the type of people that wanted other people to follow the teachings of Jesus. And, no, woe be them if somebody call them on their hypocrisy. Um, but anyway, like George Carlin said, it was basically a place where people gather every Sunday to compare clothing and hairstyles. Um, so yeah, we stopped going to Lakewood after a while, and then we started going to the church that my grandparents went to, which was actually a lot better. Um, if I if I can be honest, the people there seemed to be genuine, nice, caring people. Uh, the pastor seemed to genuinely believe in what he was preaching, and it was just a very warm and welcoming community of people. Um, but still, I mean, of course, there were a few in there that were like the ones I was describing previously. Anyway, so they never made me go to Sunday school or anything, but they did encourage me to read the Bible, and eventually I did. And reading the Bible is one of the quickest ways that you can either become a skeptic, an agnostic, or an atheist. I mean, skeptic and agnostic are almost interchangeable. But anyway, um, so yeah, I uh, I became a skeptic, and I started questioning things really hard. And we stopped going to that church. So by about this time, I was probably uh, 12 years old, and then I met my best friend, and we liked to talk philosophy, and we liked to talk about our beliefs, discuss them with each other, and just uh, basically even make philosophical conversations out of that. And by the time I was in high school, the both of us had spoken so much on the subject that I was I don't think I really considered myself Christian per se. And forgive me if I use that term wrong, per se. Um, I didn't believe in heaven or hell. I believed in reincarnation. And I did not believe that God was some douchey asshole that they described in the Bible. I believed that God is, well, I guess I was more of a pantheist, or maybe panentheist at that point. Um, but I was still really, I was a prude, to put it lightly. Um, I guess it was, due to the whole upbringing. I, uh, I abstained from sex, and, um, I didn't give a shit about the words that I used. I said fuck and cunt and shit. Anything that George Carlin would have said, I said. Um, because that my mom always she always used that language, and I preferred to be around her, um, which unfortunately was only every other weekend. But my father didn't. He sort of frowned upon the language, but it's not like he would ground me for using it. Um, but anyway, so 3 years later, I'm 17, and I meet this guy in high school, and he's, he's got the same thoughts that I do about religion and his beliefs and whatnot. So we start talking, and we develop a pretty nice friendship. In this was when I turned 17. I moved to live with my mother. Um, so I changed high schools, and he was my only friend at that time. At least in this high school, I was still friends with my friend from the other schools. Um, but he moved away about mid semester. Well, not exactly, but he stopped going to high school and finished homeschooling. Um, so I started watching a lot of George Carlin, which I hadn't done before. I vaguely knew who he was, but I started watching George Carlin and Bill Hicks, and let's see. Well, at least those two. They really got me thinking, and after a while, bam, I was an atheist, and yeah, so it was due to being skeptical basically my whole life, and finding people to talk philosophy with, reading the Bible, actually reading it cover to cover, and then being introduced to George Carlin. Um, so I was a hardcore atheist for, oh God, let's see, I don't know how long, but then I became agnostic, and I fluctuated back and forth between agnostic theist and agnostic atheist. And right now on the Richard Dawkins scale of theistic probability, I would say I'm about a 5.5, um, which would probably be. I think Carl Sagan was probably a 4.5, um, maybe, or a 5, maybe a 5.5. Not sure. Um, but yeah, I'm too science mind. I My thoughts are too scientifically oriented these days, um, to believe anything without evidence. So yeah, I mean, I still know that the probability of extraterrestrials is it just has to be mathematically has to be a lot higher than what people currently give it credit for. And just a gut feeling that I have, and of course, just a gut feeling, is that we have not seen any of them or come into contact with any of them, as far as we know, because they're waiting for us to surpass this stupid, violent stage that we have been at for so long. Surpass the need, the need for money that we think, you know, this fucking currency system that we think we need, and to stop being violent. Once we do that, I have the feeling that we'll be contacted pretty shortly after. If I'm wrong, hey, it's just another part of science being proven wrong. And I like being proven wrong because I learn things when I'm proved wrong. So, yeah, it's a great thing to be proven wrong. People should look forward to it. So, anyway, that's my time, and hopefully people will follow the advice of their pastor or their parents or whatever if they're a Christian, and actually read the Bible. And we'll have some skeptics or some atheists or some agnostics. But yeah, keep up the good fight, and have a wonderful life.